Greg. In today's video, it's a natty or not on Night KK Boy. This guy, he's getting extremely popular. 500,000 followers in a matter of weeks. And why is that? Well, because he showed an incredible transformation. He went from being skinny to shredded with loads of muscle, and the guy is stronger than freaking last time. He's 27 years of age, and he started training at the age of 20, and so we're going to examine his physique year after year and see, could this guy have been natural, or did he suddenly put on a ton of muscle out of nowhere? And so he's jumping side to side, the clothes are disappearing. Look at the quads on this guy. Is he a cyclist? And he's dancing back and forth, having a good time. He's doing one legs. What is he even doing right now? Is that an exercise? And I seriously doubt he squatted all that weight from the floor. But hey, what's the difference? And so 7 years ago, he appears to look 7. What is wrong with this guy? Why is it that at the age of 20, he appears to be 7 years of age? And so in his first year of training, look at the front double bicep. He looks nearly as jacked as Charlie Penguin C0. And so clearly his genetics, despite looking like he's 7 years of age, his genetics seem to be above average. Is it not possible that this guy simply put in the work? He trained for 7 years. He owns his own gym. Why is it not possible that he simply put in the work, did everything right? And so in his second year of training, he seems to have added a little bit of body fat. Perhaps he was in a calorie surplus, was trying to gain size, and so eating in a surplus. First year of training, that is when newbie gains are going to exist. It's very easy, as in the easiest it's ever going to be, to put on muscle in your first year of training. And so I would fully expect the most amount of gains to happen in the first year, followed by the second, third, and so on. And so when you're doing a natty or not, what you're looking for is to make the most amount of progress earlier in your career, and then over the years, every year after that, making smaller and smaller gains. If you gain 10 pounds of muscle in the first year, then 5 in the second, and 3 in the third, then suddenly you put on 10 or 15 pounds in the fourth, fifth, then you know something fishy is going on. And so in the third year training, he's twisting to the side. You can see he does have some abdominals and obliques. He's clearly above 15% body fat, but below 20. This is indicative of a guy who's pretty fit. He's nothing special. He's not shredded, but he does look good. And remember, in his first year of training, he did have above average genetics. He did have some biceps. And so from the first year to the third year, I don't see tremendous changes. These are his best years. He looks to have put on perhaps 10, maybe 15 pounds of muscle at most. And from here on out, we expect to see smaller and smaller, aka diminished returns every year after this. And year 4. Now, you may be thinking, wow, what a transformation. What did he do? He must be not natural at this point. I don't think so. What I see is a guy who went on a cut. He was between 15 and 20% body fat. And as he stands here, clearly single-digit body fat, perhaps 7%. He's very lean. He has striations in his back, the obliques, everywhere. And although I don't see his legs, I do believe he likely has the shredded legs underneath. I've seen his legs to date, and they are very impressive. And so I don't think he carries a significant amount of body fat in his lower body. And so with 4 years of training, we've seen the transformation. 4 years. Perhaps he put on 15, maybe 20 pounds of muscle at most. But there's no way he can continue gaining at this point. Remember, the first years are the best. It's 4 years of training. And so we're now expecting to see much smaller gains as he progresses throughout his career. And what just happened from year 4 to year 5? Did I not just say we expect to see smaller gains as it's beyond his newbie gains? It's year 5. Do you see the difference in thickness? He went from being shredded in year 4 to shredded in year 5. How did he put on all of that muscle? Remember, in the first year of training, I'm guessing he put on 15 pounds of muscle. But look in his 5th year. Look at the density, the thickness, the arms, the delts. The guy has completely transformed his physique. If he had done this in year 2, maybe year 3, I would have given him the benefit of the doubt. I would have said, hey, the guy has crazy genetics. He has newbie gains. He put on all this muscle through sheer hard work, eating a proper diet, and so on. But to suddenly put on all this muscle in year 5, I don't think that this guy is natural at this point. It's possible, maybe, perhaps in the first 4 years of training, he did everything wrong. Perhaps he was lifting with 10 reps in reserve, only going through the warm-up motions, not pushing himself. Perhaps he bought my cookbook, my training books. Perhaps he became a Coach Greg follower and learned to do everything right. But I doubt it. I personally believe that he likely took something after year 4. He got addicted at a gym, he got shredded, and was looking for an edge, something that could give him an advantage. In particular, the back thickness. And remember, I know there's lighting that you can do, angles and so on, but this does not look to be doctored. I don't believe he used Photoshop, and so I'm looking at him clear as day, and I don't believe that physique to be natural. Even if you said this guy been training for 10 years, I would still bet he's not natural. I don't care his height, I don't care his weight. Looking at the photo, for the most part, it's very rare for anyone to look this good while being 100% natural. And year 6, look at the shreds on this guy. Remember, when you're natural, your testosterone production likely is going to go down. If you're in a calorie deficit, especially if you're single-digit body fat, it's much harder to put on muscle. You have less energy, loss of libido, brain fog, irritability, more difficult time getting sleep. And so anyone who diets to this extent and maintains it year-round is going to have a very difficult time in building muscle. Yet here he is, leaner than ever before. Remember, he was in a lean bulk in his early years, in a calorie surplus, gaining body fat, but he didn't put on nearly this much muscle. But later in his life, he's in a calorie deficit, perhaps gaining at 7% body fat, and yet he continues to improve. This is highly suspicious, highly sus. I don't believe this is natural. It's possible, but my best educated guess tells me there's no way that this guy is natural. However, look at him on stage. When he's standing on stage compared to other guys who are most likely also not natural, he does not look nearly as impressive. And so you're thinking, well, that's natural. As you know, when you're judging a bodybuilding competition, they usually put the best athlete in the center. And so you see that guy, the shortest one in the center with the crazy quads, he, of course, does not look natural. But just because he's not better than him, does that mean that he's the one that's natural? Do you really think that only the winners are on performance-enhancing drugs? Or do you not believe it could be anyone? For the most part, I would bet every single person on this stage, all not natural. You want to doubt me? Do you really believe that athletes competing in non-tested competitions are actually just being natural out of the kindness of their hearts? Why would they do that? Anything goes. It's win at all costs. And so why, if you want to win a competition, would you in fact remain natural? Remember, I'm not saying he's blasting test and trend high doses. I'm saying not natural. Could be anything. Perhaps it's a band of fat burner. Perhaps it's something on WADA's list. But I don't believe that this guy is 100% truly natural, only taking things like creatine, GO2 max, various supplements that are sold by my supplement company. And so it is in fact possible that the lighting off stage is making him look better than he really is. He doesn't look particularly massive, but just because he doesn't look big doesn't mean that he's natural. Remember, certain guys just don't have the genetics to be the Chris Bumsteads of the world. They could take all the performance-enhancing drugs in the world and still look 100% natural. And to the opposite extent, guys with amazing genetics, the best genetics in the world, they can essentially look at a weight and they grow like a weed. They look amazing, despite the fact that they're natural. And so it really does play into account how great are your genetics. 170 centimeters, remember, I'm about 167, 168. And so he's a full inch taller than me. So he's taller than me. He's 67 kilograms. I'm about 85 kilograms. And when I was his age, about 19, I was the same weight. Not as lean as this guy, but about a couple centimeters shorter and almost as heavy as him. And so just based on the height and weight alone, without knowing anything else, you tell me a guy's height and his weight, I'm going to say probably natural. I mean, after all, is it not realistic you could be 170 centimeters tall, 67 kilograms, and be natural? Of course it is. However, I've looked through the progress photos. I've done my best to give you my educated opinion. And from year 4 to year 5, highly suspicious. I do believe he was 100% natural. Rather than being 67 kilograms, he perhaps only 57 kilograms. Not everyone is cut out to be a 100 kilogram mass monster. And I don't believe his genetics are conducive to him being a huge shredded bodybuilder. And so what really makes him stand out is his definition. Clearly single digit body fat. So despite the fact he's not that big, you can see so much detail in all his muscles, back, quads, hamstrings, everything looks fantastic. And so oftentimes when you're leaner, sub 10% body fat, it makes you look much bigger than you really are. I'm certain if you saw him with clothing on, perhaps a sweater, and you stood next to him, you wouldn't even know if this guy works out. You'd say, oh, not very big, 67 kilograms. But stripped down, pumped up, posing, guy looks absolutely incredible. And doing muscle ups like it's nothing, jumping up and down. But remember, he only weighs 67 kilograms. There's not a lot of weight to carry, and so similar to being a gymnast or a rock climber, very small but very strong muscles, this guy, he can do anything. And he's clearly having a good time training, dancing between sets, having a good old time. Nothing wrong with that. Good for him. And best lifts, 130 kilograms. Remember, I could lift this much when I was 17, and I only weighed 146 pounds, or about 66 kilograms. And so although his strength is very good, if you have amazing genetics, these kind of numbers, they are in fact great, but not amazing. It's very realistic to me that with 7 years of training, with great genetics, he could have done these lifts natural. The only reason I don't believe he's natural is the transformation that happened from year 4 to year 5. If you had simply showed him in year 1 and year 7 and said, these are the facts, this is how he looks, these are his numbers, I would have said, he may be natural. But when you look throughout the years and you really comb through the numbers, look at all the facts, that is why I don't believe the guy is natural. And having coached thousands of athletes, I haven't coached athletes who are much smaller than this, who were teenagers, who put up bigger numbers than this. And so his powerlifting numbers, although impressive, are not elite level world-class numbers that is very rare to see. Many people of this size can in fact post numbers similar or even better than this. However, not many of them are going to do so while being shredded. It's very difficult to do this while being shredded. Remember, it's not as if his genetics were naturally to be lean. We saw him in his first year of training when he was 20. Did he look shredded? When he was 21, was he shredded? He only got shredded later in his career. If we had seen him throughout his teenage years with a shredded six-pack, or he had began shredded, similar to David Lade, who was a teenager with unbelievable abdominals, we would have known, hey, this guy's genetics are to be lean. I don't believe his genetics are to be lean. Probably wants to be 20%. And so to stay this lean, he had to eat in a calorie deficit for a long period of time. And from there, he's been able to gain. And so dress as Super Saiyan. Look at the guy's hair. Is it Halloween already? And so clearly I'm loving this outfit. My favorite color is now orange, matches the McLaren. Check out the guy's strength. And so he's doing feats of strength. He's shredded. People can relate to this guy. They're thinking he's not that big. He's not like he's 200 kilograms. He's done this transformation in 7 years. But I want to remind you this. I don't think this is natural. Just because he isn't absolutely massive does not mean the guy is natural. For the most part, most people who use performance-enhancing drugs, they don't even look average. And why would that be? Because they want to look average. Think of it. If you have a below average physique, you're overweight and or obese, and you want to look normal, perhaps you just want to have your shirt off on the beach, you want to fit in, perhaps attract the opposite or the same sex, whatever. Do you not think that it's tempting to use performance enhancing drugs? Of course it is. And so don't just assume that it's all the big shredded guys, the bodybuilders that are using these things. They are used by everyone. And remember, don't use or abuse performance enhancing drugs unless, of course, you're being prescribed and it's being monitored by your doctor, and never, ever break the law. And so don't forget, if you're looking for natural supplements like G-Test or pre-workout, GO2 Max, the list goes on, click the link in the description, code Greg, 10% off. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Don't forget to like the video. Did you like it? Enjoy it. Give me a like if you did. Also, watch one of those tube loops, and of course, cookbooks and training books, all kinds of books. Also, supplement line, you know what's going on. The clothing line, everything on the website. And if you want a free diet and training program, head over to my website, first, last name, email address. You're getting it straight to you. It's close to 50 pages. Enter it right now. And until next time, I am out.